Fear of investing just cost one woman exactly $400,000, and she never risked a single penny to lose it. Her name was Renata, 53 years old, retired school administrator, and she kept every dollar in a savings account for 11 years. Not because she was careless with money, because she was terrified of losing the $500 she started with. That fear felt responsible. It felt smart. It felt like the only rational decision a careful person could make. But fear of investing is not a personality trait, and it is not wisdom. It is a $400,000 invisible tax you pay every single year. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which mechanism inside your brain is collecting that tax and how to physically stop it today. Renata opened her savings account in 2012 with $500 she was genuinely afraid to put anywhere riskier than a bank. Every month after that, she added $200 to that account, which felt disciplined, which felt like the right kind of careful. By 2023, she had deposited roughly $31,000 of her own money, and the bank had added approximately $900 in interest. Her total balance after 11 years of consistent saving was $31,900, almost exactly what she put in herself. Now run the identical deposits into a basic index fund starting in January 2012, and that same $31,000 becomes $226,000 by late 2023. The fear of investing did not protect Renata's $500. It silently consumed $194,000 in growth she never saw leave. But it gets worse, because Renata was not sitting still while that gap was opening. She was watching her coworker Marcus investing the same $200 monthly. Marcus had the same starting salary, the same apartment cost, the same city, and he did not have more courage. He had one different system. By the time Renata retired at 62, Marcus's account had crossed $400,000, while hers sat at $41,000 after a final push of deposits. The difference between those two numbers is not stock-picking genius, not a lucky inheritance, not a higher income. It is 1 decade of fear of investing compounding in reverse. $400,000 did not get stolen from Renata. It got quietly rationed away by a feeling she never examined or challenged once. And the cruelest part is that the savings account made her feel safe every single month, which is exactly why the fear survived so long without a fight. Fear of investing is not random anxiety. It has a specific biological address inside the human brain and a specific trigger that fires it every time. The amygdala, which is roughly the size of an almond and sits behind each ear, processes potential loss approximately 2.5 times more intensely than equivalent gain. This means losing $500 registers as neurologically painful as gaining $1,250 feels rewarding. The math is permanently asymmetric inside your nervous system. Behavioral economists name this loss aversion, and it evolved when losing resources meant physical death. But your amygdala has not updated its threat library since approximately 40,000 years ago. A market dip of 8% fires the identical alarm signal that a predator behind you in the dark would fire, and your body cannot distinguish between them neurologically. So the fear of investing is not irrationality, and it is not weakness. It is a survival reflex misfiring in an environment it was never designed to navigate. However, misfiring reflexes still produce $400,000 consequences regardless of their evolutionary excuse, which means the reflex must be managed with a physical system, not willpower. Willpower fails because it is fighting a neurological response using the prefrontal cortex, which goes offline under stress. That's like using a paper shield against an actual fire. The second amplifier, layered on top of the loss aversion, is what psychologists call status quo bias. The brain assigns safety to whatever condition currently exists, independent of whether it's actually safe. A savings account earning 1.2% interest feels safe because it exists, while an index fund feels dangerous because it's unfamiliar, even when the math says the reverse is true. Add recency bias, where the last bad thing you heard about the market weighs more heavily than 11 years of compound growth data, and the fear becomes almost entirely self-reinforcing. The real cost of fear of investing is not measured in dollars lost from a single bad trade. It's measured in decades of compound growth that never started. Joseph is going to show you exactly what compound growth looks like when it is denied, using 4 identical investors and 4 different start dates, all investing $200 monthly. Investor 1 starts at $25 and stops contributing at $45, $200 monthly for 20 years, then leaves the money untouched until $65. Investor 2 starts at $35, contributes the identical $200 monthly, and also stops at $65. 10 additional years of contributing, but 10 fewer years of compounding compounding head start. Investor 1 ends at 65 with approximately $602,000. Investor 2 ends at $271,000 despite investing for a longer contribution period. The $331,000 gap between those two investors was created entirely by 10 years of fear of investing at the beginning, not 10 years of bad decisions. Now add Investor 3 who starts at 25, but withdraws everything once in a panic during a crash at 32. They lose 7 years of compounding and restart from zero. Investor 3 ends at 65 with approximately $348,000. The single panic withdrawal cost them $254,000 versus Investor 1. Every year, a fear of investing at the start of your investing window is worth between $30,000 and $80,000 at retirement, depending on your contribution and market conditions. That number is not theoretical. It's the mechanical output of compound interest running on a longer timeline, and no amount of aggressive catch-up investing fully compensates for a delayed start. The fix for fear of investing is not a motivational speech, and it's not reading 3 books on the stock market until you feel confident. Confidence is the wrong goal entirely. The goal is removing the decision from the moment of fear, which means automating the investment before your amygdala ever gets a vote on whether it happens this month. This is not a metaphor. Automation is a literal physical friction system that inserts a barrier between your fear response and your money before the fear fires. When your investment transfers automatically on payday before the money touches your checking account, the fear of investing has no moment to intervene because there is no decision being made. You cannot be afraid of a transaction that already happened before you opened your banking app, which means you have physically relocated the decision to a moment when your prefrontal cortex was calm. The second component of the fix is size reduction. Renata's fear was anchored to $500, but the actual minimum to open a basic index fund today is $1. Starting with $25 per month instead of waiting until you have $500 ready is not a smaller investment. It's a different psychological category that the amygdala does not flag as threatening. The third component is information architecture. You must remove your investing app from your phone's home screen so the daily market fluctuation is physically harder to see during emotional moments. Watching daily market movement is the single fastest way to keep fear of investing alive and operating, because the brain reads short-term volatility as permanent loss rather than normal oscillation. These 3 components together are a friction system, not advice, and friction systems work on the biology, not against it. Open a brokerage account today, not this weekend, not when you feel ready, with any amount between $1 and whatever you currently have sitting in a low-yield savings account. Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab all offer 0 minimum index fund options as of 2024, and the account setup takes between 8 and 14 minutes on a phone or laptop. The specific fund to start with for someone managing fear of investing for the first time is a total market index fund, not individual stocks, not crypto, not sector ETFs. A total market index fund holds thousands of companies simultaneously, which means no single company collapsing can eliminate your balance the way Renata feared a bad pick would eliminate hers. Once the account is open, navigate to the automatic investment or recurring contribution setting. Every major brokerage has this feature, and it takes approximately 3 minutes to activate. Set the automatic transfer date to the same day your paycheck deposits, and set the automatic transfer amount to the smallest number that does not immediately feel catastrophic. Even $15 is no joke. Write that exact dollar amount and that exact date on a physical piece of paper and tape it to the inside of a cabinet you open every morning. Not your phone screen, physical paper. The physical paper matters because it creates a concrete, visible record of a decision your calm self already made, which reduces the power of the fearful self who checks the market during a dip. After 90 days of automatic transfers, open the account and look at the balance once. Set a calendar reminder for that specific date and do not open the account before it. The 90-day gap is not arbitrary. Behavioral research shows that investors who check their portfolios quarterly make significantly fewer panic decisions than investors who check weekly or daily. In month 4, increase the automatic transfer by $10, not because the market is performing, but because the friction system is now established and a $10 increase is neurologically invaluable. invisible. Repeat the $10 increase every 4 months until the monthly contribution reaches $200, which is the amount that generates the $600,000 outcome by age 65 at historical averages. Fear of investing feels like it's protecting your money, but protection that costs $400,000 is indistinguishable from the thing it claims to protect you against. A savings account earning 1.2% while inflation runs at 3.5% is not a safe harbor. It's a slow, invisible withdrawal from your own future at 2.3% annually. The risk of investing is visible and immediate, which is why the brain treats it as large, but the risk of not investing is invisible and gradual, which is why the brain treats it as zero. Fear of investing is a bias towards the risk you can see and a blindness towards the risk that is actually consuming your wealth quietly, month after month, without a single red number on a screen. Renata did not feel $400,000 disappear. She felt safe every single day, which is why this particular fear is so expensive and so difficult to diagnose without data. The question is never whether the market is scary. The market is always scary at some point to someone for some specific reason that feels completely valid in that exact moment. The question is whether the fear of investing is costing you more annually than the worst realistic loss you're trying to avoid. And for most people holding cash and savings, the answer is definitively yes. Every year you delay starting is not a year you spent being careful. It's a year you paid a six-figure fee to a feeling that never had your financial interests in mind.
Start the system when you are afraid, not because fear means you are ready, but because the system does not require your courage to function once it is physically in place. If you built the automatic transfer today and you want to know what the next invisible leak is dismantling alongside your savings, Joseph made a video about the specific habit erasing $300 monthly from accounts exactly like yours. That video is linked at the end of this one, and it covers the mechanics that most behavioral finance content refuses to name directly because the numbers are too uncomfortable to say out loud. Before you click that, drop your answer to this question in the comments right now. What specific dollar amount did your fear of investing tell you is the minimum you needed before you could start? That number is almost certainly wrong, and reading everyone else's number in the comments is going to show you exactly how universal and exactly how arbitrary the fear of investing actually is. The video is right there. Watch it now while the system is still live in your head, because this is the exact moment the friction system is easiest to build and hardest to talk yourself out of.